If you have been struggling to get sales from your design work or understanding what you really need to do to make money, I have the workshop for you. On September 23rd, I'm hosting my first ever Profitable Designer Workshop. This 1-day, 3-hour workshop is only $97, but I have a discount for all my podcast listeners. Go to carinagardnercourses.com/profit and put in the code podcast for $50 off. I can't wait to see you more profitable. Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life. So today we're going to talk about the 5 ways we can deal with burnout. We're in the holiday season. It tends to be a time where people do get burnt out, which is ironic because it's supposed to be like the most wonderful time of the year. But it is something that's real, especially when we add up all the things we're trying to accomplish and do and deadlines on top of it. So I haven't been burnt out recently, but I recognize very often the signs that I'm on the way to a burnout, which actually made me think about this episode because I was thinking about what are the ways that I combat making sure I don't actually get to full burnout. Now, doesn't mean I don't sometimes get there all the way, but if you are maybe in a state of current burnout, maybe you're even used to it, that's always a bad place to be, or you are on your way to some kind of burnout, I thought this would be an episode that you might find useful, helpful in your current design or maker journey. Okay, so the first thing I think you need to do in dealing with burnout is to evaluate where the burnout is coming from. So I'm thinking about it as a designer. Okay, for you, you might be thinking about it in personal or whatever your current career trajectory is. But for me, I'm thinking about it as a designer. So when I'm evaluating, I'm thinking about is my problem that I have so many designs due? Okay, so number of designs. Then I think is it the number or is it the scale of the project? Because sometimes when I'm working on large scale things, that's when I feel the burnout. In fact, actually this haunted mansion, which if you're on YouTube, you can see the haunted mansion in behind me a bit here. But the haunted mansion was something I started actually a whole year ago. And I was working on it and I got burnt out because I had all these other projects going on. I couldn't handle this one. And it was so big, it needed so much testing. There were just so many small pieces to it that I actually stopped and moved on to something else. And I let it sit for an entire year, you guys, which leads me to how to deal with burnout tip number 2, which is to table it. If you have the ability to table a project, and I did with this haunted mansion, I left it for an entire year. And I knew I was going to come back to it, but it was not happening at that time. I had too many other projects due, and I had to sit down and really prioritize what was right. So table anything that is causing you issues, table anything that you're kind of that can go somewhere else and we can make it happen later. Okay. And I really recommend that because when you don't have a priority list that makes sense and you start adding things on it, and I evaluated at that time, if I got that thing done, how much more money was it really going to bring in for me? Okay, so it's an ultimate project. We only sell ultimate projects on our own site, or now we only allow ultimate projects into our Ink Club membership, so they're getting exclusives. And so I knew that it was going to make a good chunk of money, but it wasn't going to be the same money as if I were distributing it across all my different channels. So it was just a different, I knew what it was for, and I thought, you know what, it's okay if it doesn't come out for a whole nother year. I felt okay about that. Okay, number 3, okay. If you are really starting to feel that burnout, and for me, I recognize the signs of it, I usually am ready to book a vacation. Because it's an extreme feeling burnt out, right? We start feeling extreme. And so we start making extreme choices, all right? Now, booking a vacation is not necessarily an extreme choice, but like if you're feeling like it's all or nothing, and that's really what booking a vacation really is. It's like all or nothing. Like I can't minimize the workload in my daily life, so I need to go on vacation to get away from all of it, right? That's really like when you start feeling that way, first of all, you know you're in burnout. And second of all, go ahead and book that vacation. That's really my tip for you, because here's what I need anyway. If I book a vacation, whether it's in the near future or very, very far away, what it does for me is it gives me something to look forward to when I know that I can rest, okay? And if you can take a vacation closer to when the burnout's happening, the better, okay? But sometimes it actually stresses me out more because there's so much work to do and then I'm taking time off. That makes zero sense. So instead, I have to alleviate. I have to like take things off my plate and slowly and surely get to a place where like I can take a certain amount of time off, right? So tip number 3 is if you're feeling like a vacation, you probably ought to book one, okay? All right, number 4 is to figure out a way to clear your schedule on the weekend, okay? This is a big one for me because during the week, if I cannot get my weekly work done, I have been known to let it all stray into the weekend. So that means Saturday and Sunday, I'm picking up the pieces of everything I couldn't make happen Monday through Friday, okay? This is one of those things that like continually is a goal for me to slowly and surely move away from, to do less from, okay? So if it is something you can do, this will really help because just having even 24 hours off or 48 hours off will give you a sense of relief when you come back to the tasks at hand, okay? Now, if you come back to those tasks at hand, you're not just going to put them all back on your plate again, right? Instead, you're going to prioritize and make sure that you're paying attention to the things that actually need to be done, things that actually move the needle in your business. And all the extra stuff, it has to go away or you have to put it over. You can table it, you can put it into, I think in my mastermind, they call it a parking spot. They need to go away for a while. That's what happened with my haunted mansion. It went to a parking spot and I said, listen, it doesn't mean I'm not going to come see you again or drive you again. I just can't deal with you right now. You don't move the needle in my business right now, okay? And I think that's okay. And sometimes, especially as designers or creatives, we think we got to do all the things at once. We got to be on all the social media. We got to be making all the things. And especially if you're in my Design Suite program, you know I say design is the most important thing. You should not be worrying about this, and this. Like there are so many things you should not be worrying about. Like all you should be worrying about is designing and getting the number of products that you have up high. So you have lots of them, okay? That's what moves the needle, okay? All right, number 5. Identify what created the burnout to begin with. This one's crazy because what happens is, I think this is an endless cycle. You start feeling burnt out. You get to the point where you're truly burnt out. You take a vacation or a breather or a weekend off. You kind of reprioritize. And then you start that cycle back over again, right? You start working, burnout, take a break, cycle again, okay? So how do we quit the cycle? I think we have to determine what started it to begin with, okay? And it's all individual, right? So if you are someone who tends to overbook their days, then maybe you need some time management help, okay? I have a good friend, Megan Summerall, who does time management. It's fantastic. If you are someone who isn't very good at blocking off time to work, then you've got to figure out when in the day you're going to get that work done. Maybe you have kids, maybe you're caring for parents. Like whatever it is, you've got to figure out when in your day it makes the most sense to get the work done. Because that like, unless you start figuring that out, you're always going to feel burnt out because you're chasing your goals while dealing with everything else during the day. So like you need to identify what is the thing causing the burnout. Maybe it's your own goals for yourself, okay? Maybe you need to give yourself a longer lead time. Maybe it's unrealistic goals, like unrealistic like ideals of what you can accomplish. I know oh my gosh, I am a total, I totally do this. I totally will give myself unrealistic expectations, and then I beat myself up when I can't get it done. You guys, that's just so counterproductive. And I know that, and I think you know that in your head, but we got to figure out a way to deal with it in our heart, right? So figuring out what is going on to cause the burnout to begin with, and then going out of your way to figure out how to solve that problem before the burnout even happens, right? So I will tell you guys, for me, my burnout is for sure like when I start feeling it creeping is I do not regulate and put enough vacations into my year. So now I do my best to every few months make sure we have a vacation plan. 2 is I'm trying to alleviate the work that I give myself on the weekend, which means I have to alleviate the amount of work I give myself during the week, you guys. If I can't accomplish everything during the week, then I shouldn't have it in that week. I should push it off either into a parking lot or into the next week, right? So sometimes we have to move things around to make it work. All right. I hope you're not dealing with burnout, especially during this holiday. But if you find yourself starting to get there, you're starting to feel a little burnt out, I want to tell you that, first of all, help is on the way, okay? If you help yourself. And it doesn't mean someone else is going to come help you. You need to help yourself. And take these 5 tips, figure out what you need to do to alleviate the burnout for yourself. You are the hero in your own story. You are the leading lady making this creative life yours, okay? So you are also the person who can make all the solutions, make everything better, which is kind of amazing, you guys. You created the problem, but you also get to make the solutions. And that's generally how it is in life. Don't wait for someone else to solve it for you. You can solve it for yourself. Figure out what is causing the burnout. Figure out what you need to do to make that burnout go away, make it go away, and then try to figure out ways so that it doesn't happen anymore, okay? Doesn't mean that's going to be perfect, doesn't mean that you won't still have burnout once in a while. I know I certainly can tell when I'm almost there and I have to take some time off or whatever I've got to do, and it just helps get me back on track so I remember why I do what I do. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week. And if you have not left me a review and you listen to this podcast, do me a favor and leave me a review. It helps so much and makes it so that this podcast is possible and so I can get guests on. So leave me a review. It really helps. And I hope to see you soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.